What's going on, everyone? We got a lot to get into, so let's get started. Beginning with the Nasser Hospital operation in the southern Gaza city of Khan Yunis. This was the last major hospital that was yet to be searched by the IDF. They say they completed that operation just a couple days ago. They say during the operation, unused sealed medicines with the names of Israeli abductees were found in the hospital, along with many weapons and around 200 terrorists and suspects of terrorist activities who were subsequently arrested. They say the activity of the hospital was carried out while ensuring minimal damage to the hospital's current operations and without harming the patients and the medical staff. They say the IDF provided an alternative generator that enabled the continuing function of the hospital and the treatment of patients, and throughout the entire activity, the vital systems of the hospital continue to function on the basis of an uninterruptible power supply system. And they say before the troops left the hospital, the area was cleaned and another delivery of food was made to the hospital. Now, we do have a conflicting report somewhat coming out of Al Jazeera, an article titled, "Israeli Siege Turns Nasser Hospital into Place of Death." They say officials from the United Nations who conducted evacuation missions from Gaza's Nasser Hospital have described appalling conditions at the enclave's second largest medical facility, saying that an Israeli military operation there has transformed a place of healing into a place of death. They say the hospital stopped functioning last week after a week-long Israeli siege, followed by a raid, and that is according to personnel from the World Health Organization. We also have additional information coming out around the allegations that UN employees took part in the October 7th raid into Israel alongside Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and other militant groups. We've got images showing the individual employees from UNRWA here, along with their role in the organization and what they are accused of doing on October 7th. One man here was a school counselor who they say assisted his son in kidnapping an Israeli woman. Another was a math teacher who received and held hostages. We have a social worker who was spotted in Israel on October 7th and helped to kidnap an Israeli soldier. We have an assistant principal from a UN school who relayed messages to various fighters during the operation. An Arabic teacher who was notified to go to a rally point before the operation and then help provide logistics during the course of the raid. A teacher who was directed to a rally point ahead of the operation, and then a religion teacher who is now known to be a Hamas company commander who took part in the October 7th attack into Israel. However, we don't yet have an independent third party that has investigated or verified any of these claims. In fact, we have a new article here titled U.S. Intelligence Casts Doubt on Israeli Claims of UNRWA-Hamas Links. They say a U.S. intelligence assessment of Israel's claims that UNRWA members participated in the Hamas attack on 7 October said that some of the accusations were credible, though could not be independently verified, while also casting doubt on claims of wider links to militant groups. According to the write-up here in the Wall Street Journal, the intelligence report that was released last week assessed with low confidence that a handful of staff had participated in the attack. They did, however, cast doubt on the accusations that UNRWA was collaborating with Hamas in some wider way. They mentioned that although UNRWA does have to coordinate with Hamas to distribute aid and operate in Gaza at all, there is a lack of evidence to support that UNRWA was directly collaborating with Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, or other militant organizations. And they wrap up by saying that Israel so far has not yet shared the raw intelligence behind its assessments with the United States. Now, we have seen more attacks claimed by Hamas across Gaza in the last few days. This tends to come in waves. We saw a period a couple weeks ago where Hamas only claimed a couple attacks over the course of 10 to 14 days. However, in the last 48, 72 hours, that has spiked up pretty significantly. Most notably, a handful of the attacks that Hamas claimed responsibility for here took place in the Zaytun neighborhood, which is in northern Gaza. So as a bit of a reference, the Gaza Strip generally runs north to south. The Israeli ground operation kicked off in the north, moved into central Gaza, and is now operating in southern Gaza in and around Khan Yunis and Rafah. Nobody has ever said, including Israel, that the north has been secure and entirely cleared of Hamas. That fight is going to go on for quite a while, and I think this highlights that. So even as much of the focus has shifted south, Hamas is still conducting and claiming responsibility and showing videos for multiple attacks in northern Gaza. On that note, if you're interested in watching any of the videos released by Hezbollah, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, any of these organizations, check out War No War on Twitter. They're constantly updating the newest videos from any one of these militant groups. Then turning to the northern front, Defense Minister Gallant said that Israel will increase its strikes on Hezbollah in response to daily attacks on northern Israel, including amid a potential temporary ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. So if a temporary ceasefire is reached between Hamas and Israel, Israel is saying here they will plan to continue attacking Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. Gallant said, quote, "We are planning to increase the firepower against Hezbollah, which is unable to find replacements for the commanders that we are eliminating." He says, "In the event of a temporary truce in Gaza, we will increase the fire in the north, and we will continue until the full withdrawal of Hezbollah from the border and the return of the residents to their homes." He says the goal is simple: to push Hezbollah back where it should be, either by agreement or we will do it by force. Now, the fighting on the northern border has never really stopped, and we got news earlier today that Hezbollah shot down what they call a Hormuz 450 drone, what Israel calls a Hermes 450. We have some footage released by Hezbollah showing one of those drones in flight. This is not the footage of the drone being shot down. I've not seen that released quite yet. However, Israel responded by conducting strikes against Hezbollah targets deep inside of Lebanon after Hezbollah announced that they had shot down this Israeli military drone. These strikes, which took place in Baalbek, northeast Lebanon, are about 60 miles inside of Lebanon, about 40 miles northeast of Beirut. The majority of the attacks taking place between Hezbollah and Israel are right along the border region. This is the northernmost attack carried out by Israel against Hezbollah in quite a while. Then on February 24th, U.S. Central Command, alongside the UK Armed Forces, with support from Australia, Bahrain, Canada, Denmark, the Netherlands, and New Zealand, conducted strikes against 18 Houthi targets in Yemen. These strikes from the multilateral coalition targeted areas used by the Houthis to attack international merchant vessels and naval ships in the region. These are statements coming from U.S. Central Command. They say the targets included Houthi underground weapon storage facilities, missile storage facilities, one-way attack unmanned aerial systems, air defense systems, radars, and a helicopter. They say these strikes are intended to degrade Houthi capability and disrupt their continued reckless and unlawful attacks on international, commercial, and U.S. and U.K. vessels in the Red Sea, Bab el-Mandab Strait, and the Gulf of Aden. A U.S. senior military official told reporters that the strikes dropped between 25 and 30 munitions and hit multiple targets at each location, adding that the U.S. observed good impacts and effects at all sites. He said this included the destruction of more advanced weapons in the underground storage facility, which is the first time such advanced weapons were so far targeted. The official also said that air and sea assets were used in this strike. They said the aircraft, at least the U.S. ones, took off from the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, and the ships involved included the USS Gravely, USS Mason, and the USS Philippine Sea. Then in terms of impact felt by the Houthis here, as we've said every time after a wave of U.S. and U.K. strikes against Houthi targets, the Houthi ability to conduct drone and missile attacks into the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden cannot be completely eliminated through air and missile strikes alone. It just takes one Houthi drone, one Houthi missile stored deep below ground, wheeled out, launch it one time every couple weeks, and they can continue the pressure in this region of the world. So the goal of these strikes is not to completely eliminate the Houthi ability to carry out attacks in the region, is to convince them that the cost is not worth it. That as they continue to do this, more and more of their military capabilities, in this case, the U.S. says advanced weapons targeted and destroyed, that isn't worth it for the Houthis to continue. And a note on the advanced weapons, it's not clear exactly what those are at this point, but given the current and historic very, very close ties between Iran and the Houthis, entirely possible those advanced weapons may have been medium or long-range ballistic missiles. Now, one reason we know that this wave of strikes did not completely stop the Houthis is that shortly after it took place, they announced another attack. According to the Houthis, they say the naval forces of the Yemeni armed forces, with the help of God Almighty, carried out a qualitative military operation in which they targeted the American oil ship Torm Thor in the Gulf of Aden with a number of appropriate naval missiles. They say while the Air Force targeted a number of American warships in the Red Sea with a number of drones. And this was confirmed by U.S. Central Command, who said late on February 24th, the Houthis launched one anti-ship ballistic missile, likely targeting the MV Torm Thor, a U.S.-flagged, owned, and operated chemical oil product tanker in the Gulf of Aden. They say the missile impacted the water, causing no damage or injuries. earlier, CENTCOM forces shot down 2 one-way attack unmanned aerial vehicles over the southern Red Sea in self-defense, and a third UAV crashed from an assessed in-flight failure. So shortly after the US and UK carried out a series of strikes against multiple Houthi targets across Yemen, the Houthis turned right around, launched a missile at a commercial ship, and then multiple one-way attack drones against US and UK military vessels in the region. Now, this comes amidst the Houthi leader just a couple days ago saying that they plan to escalate operations in the region, not just continue, but ramp them up. They also put out a video and some pictures that I'll show here saying that their special forces, the Houthi special forces, conducted a 200-kilometer road march in solidarity with the Palestinian people, and as is perfectly on brand for the Houthis, a part of that road march included their soldiers walking over Israeli and American flags. But that's all I've got for now. Normally at this point, I would say go check out our Substack, free articles, resources to learn more about this and other national security subjects. But I've seen some comments recently where people are saying the only time they've ever heard the word Substack at all is at the end of my videos. So I thought maybe a little explainer of what that is. It's essentially a combination between a website and a newsletter. So we're using it to publish written content there. We're publishing articles on our Substack page. We're eventually going to rebrand it. The name of it shouldn't be Preston Stewart because we've got a whole team there now publishing their work under their names, but still, I don't want the name of the publication to be Preston Stewart. I also put up videos when they get flagged or pulled down here on YouTube. They make their way over to Substack, and we're adding some audio options, kind of a narration of these articles that I think is easier for some people to consume. So all of that sits on Substack. It's free to sign up, and it comes to your inbox directly, so the articles will come to you. The app's a little wonky, I'll give you that, but you should be able to read the majority of the articles either in your email browser or on a web browser. Again, the goal is additional free resources. If interested, of course, we'd love for you to check it out. But thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.